Good.
Canlı yayında mıyız Aslı? Hello. Dear Sanjay, you hear me? Okay, we have 12 minutes to start the
YouTube, everybody.
Sorry?
Everybody else sees it on YouTube. Everybody else sees
Yes,
it on YouTube.
yes, they are
Okay.
watching on YouTube now. 20 people are watching for now. It's gonna be maybe
Already.
more. Yes.
Okay.
I'm just checking the statistics. Just 1 minute. I will get back. Dear Sanjay?
Yes.
I think we have
Ready?
problems with your internet connection. Are you close to your Wi-Fi?
Yeah, I'm pretty close. 1 minute. Let me see. Okay. Better? Is it better?
It's good now. It's perfect now. It's perfect.
Okay.
Okay, let me just check the statistics. Then it starts in 5 minutes. We are live on YouTube. A lot of people are just showing love. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Ruchika, I'm reading the comments here just before the starting of the live video. I just would like to thank you so much for the people who are just commenting, asking questions, and also somehow showing love from our Instagram page, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, our website, whoever, any way they reach us. So thank you so much, Ruchika. Hello. Neil Lab, thank you for your comments. Charling, it's up. Thank you. Looking forward to this chart. Thank you so much for the Parametric Architecture team. Hello, Sanjay, sir. You're an inspiration. Thank you so much for doing this session. I think is a lot too. Thank you. Okay, we have you, dear Sanjay. Do you have my voice? I don't have your voice. Okay.
Yes?
I think I have you.
Okay.
Yes, I have your voice. You hear
Okay.
me?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay. I just received a lot of comments from YouTube. They all say really thank you to you as well. Really looking forward. Charissa sends thanks. Okay.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, I'm starting the webinar. Okay, thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining this live video. Actually, we have 5 minutes left. I think we need to wait because a lot of people are just now waiting for the exact time, and we didn't fill up the room already. Already, it's just 15 people. Just wait 5 minutes. Don't lose the connection. If we lose the connection, it's hard to redirect it again to YouTube. But from YouTube, we are all live. And 37 people are watching right now. And I really appreciate all of these guys who are just joining this live video. Unfortunately, with this pandemic, the things that around the globe are really bad in situation, and the numbers are going high. I'm also watching for India. There's a lot of lockdowns in all countries, and even in Turkey, the numbers are going high, and it's just all quarantine. You can't go outside. I just go out for to buy food and these essential stuff. So it's good. But we're trying to connect with each other through the virtual reality, the world that we have from the internet. And we have guys like you to join us and spread inspiration and be a source of encouragement.
Yeah, and guys like you are putting this platform.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. You remember we met in Amsterdam?
WAF. Yeah, in WAF.
Yeah, in WAF. I told you I will invite you for a live session, and this happened during the pandemic, and it was luck.
Yeah, so.
Exactly. Okay.
But I love all your posts there. You really pick up the best stuff and put it out there.
Yeah.
Instagram posts really good, each one of them.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I built the Instagram to spread information, and before, if even the first message on Instagram I've ever sent to you, it was my portfolio. I think it
Oh,
was
yeah,
5 years ago. I remember.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and yeah, I started to use Instagram as a gateway to show how the create these computational and parametric design. Back then in 2015 and 2016, I started really investing on parametric and computational design. I started sharing my own knowledge, my own designs as well. Then after growing to a certain number of followers, I tried to change it to a magazine and share other designers' works as well, and not to be a selfish. And then I shared everyone's works and it spread knowledge globally. It just grow, and day by day. And now we have almost like 500,000 followers on Instagram, 30,000
Wow,
followers on LinkedIn and Facebook, and these kind of stuff.
crazy.
And
Yeah.
you're one of the people we follow from the first days,
Thank you.
and we have your support from the first days as well.
Cheers.
Thank you. Okay, it's just 2 minutes. Uh, I just want to wait another 2 minutes to people to join to this live session. YouTube is going crazy. It's now 48 people, and this room is quite not filled actually. 15 people is filled now. 12 people out of 25 people can watch right now. I would like to get your comments in the comment section. In the chat bar, you can ask questions as well, guys. And also you can, I'm watching over the YouTube as well. You can ask your questions over there. I will be reading. If you have anything to ask from dear Sanjay, he's here for us. He's here for you. You can easily ask. Just 30 seconds to go to start our live session. And I will be asking, this interview would be last like 1 hour or more than 1 hour. It depends on dear Sanjay's answers and how long we would like to talk. But it's okay. Okay, we can start. I'm starting. Hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining this live video. As you all know, PA Talks interviews architects who share their experience with projects, design tools, how their ethos aligns with these tools, and what are the steps that we need to take in bettering the environment we live in. And according to the latest pandemic and the disaster are happening all over the world, we try to be a source of inspiration and encouragement to the people who are staying at home and trying to prevent this so-called coronavirus and the pandemic. So I invited my friend Sanjay Puri, founder of Sanjay Puri Architects, to join me in a live video and talk about his architecture, his vision, and how did he do to become where he is now. And so, dear Sanjay, the mic is yours, and please let us know how did you commence studying architecture, and what are your reasons for choosing this profession?
So you have to go really long back.
Yeah.
So it started. It started in, just to go really back in,
Okay.
I think 8th standard or something. I was always topping the class in biology, and I was always topping the class also in drawing. So
Okay.
I think in 9th standard, I was given the award of the best artist in the school, and the school went up to 12th standard. And normally, an 8th standard, 9th standard student would not win over the 11th and 12th. So that was a good thing.
Right.
But anyway, so I was thinking to be either an artist, and then because,
Okay.
my mother's side, the entire family are doctors. Okay. So everybody said, no, you're damn good in bio. You should be a doctor. You should be a doctor. You got it inborn in you. So,
Yes.
and
Yeah,
then,
those days the majors were just separated to be doctor, to be artist, to be
yeah.
accountant, lawyer, and this stuff.
Yeah, no. In India, it was different. In India, it was engineer, doctor, two things. An
Two
engineer or
things.
doctor. And my dad was an engineer and my mom was a doctor. So anyway, and
Wow.
at that time, I landed up reading this book called The Fountainhead by Ayn Rand. What a book!
Yes.
And since then, I've read it like number of times. But that was a
Yes.
book that actually introduced me to architecture, and I was like, wow. And it got this whole thing in my head because that's something that marries art and science
Mm-hmm.
together. So
Okay.
that was the beginning of wanting to be an architect, somewhere in the ninth standard in school. And
Yes.
then after finishing 12th standard, I wanted to know if architecture is really as romantic as it's made out in that book, or is the
Mm-hmm.
reality something else? So I'd asked my
Okay.
dad, do you know any architects? I want to work with an architect before I get into architecture. So he introduced me to a
Right.
really good contractor, a contracting firm. And that contracting firm put me in touch with this architect called Hafiz Contractor, who's the largest practice in India right now. But when I joined him,
Mm-hmm.
I was the fifth person in the office. And I was a kid. I was 18 years old. I had not even joined architecture college.
Wow.
But
That, how
he
many
was,
years ago it was?
that was like 1983.
83. Wow. A long time ago. In that time, I
Yeah.
was not born yet.
Yeah, I know.
I was grass, something like inside the soil.
So, yeah, so that was the starting. But
Yes.
it was a great experience because before joining College of Architecture, I
Yes.
had been to interior sites, to building sites, done client meetings on my own, and I
Right.
was scared. I was scared, but hats off to Hafiz Contractor, who was my mentor at that time, and he taught me.
Yes.
He taught me how to draw. There were no computers; we had to draw by hand. So he taught me how to
Wow.
draw, taught me to be confident, get out there. And I still remember once he was telling me, he said, you did that drawing? I said, yeah, I did the drawing. He said, so why haven't you called the client? I said, like, I'm supposed to call the client? He said, yeah, of course, call the client. So, it was that whole
Wow.
confidence instilled in you. Imagine an 18-year-old kid not gone into architecture, calling the client saying, your drawing is ready and can I come and explain it to you? And I did that.
Right. Wow.
So it was a great
Impressive.
thing. So yeah, so in the 3 months
Impressive.
that I worked before joining college, I had done all of it. I'd
Yes.
done working drawings and everything. So I knew how it all worked. And then the interesting thing was working all throughout 5 years of college, along with the college work. So you're doing the hypothetical, you're doing the real work. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that was a great,
Right.
great experience. So at the end of
Right.
5 years, when you finished, yeah, so I was made an associate in the office before my results were declared. And I see the people
Mm-hmm.
coming now after 5 years of college with very, very
Right.
little knowledge. Ah, 1 minute, huh? I think I need to plug in a
Sorry?
battery. I need to plug in a battery. One sec.
Okay. Yeah. Let's not lose the connection.
Yeah. Oh, just a minute. Just a minute.
Okay. No problem. Guys, just waiting for 10 minutes, 1 minute. So Sanjay will be back. So what do you think? Please write to me in the comment section. What do you think about these live sessions and how we should proceed with going with these kind of interviews on YouTube, or you can write in the comments.
Oh, you can't go there.
Mm-hmm. I think this is great. Okay, thank you so much, Ketki. It's nice to see PA with Sanjay Puri, sir. Nice to hear you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Dear Drusha Nanjan, it's great to have Sanjay Puri, sir, here. Thank you so much, Hamid. Thank you as well. Parul says, sir, how is the lockdown affecting you mentally and work too? Actually, the lockdown is really great for me because I'm staying at home and I'm doing all my work through social media online. I think I lost my...
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay, no problem. Are you there?
Technology.
Yes, technology. It's hard to adapt to it, but we have no choice.
Yeah. Okay, so where were we? Yeah. So it was
Yeah,
that
you were
whole
talking
5.
about the university.
Yeah, so working 5 years and
Yes.
simultaneously doing college, I think was the best experience possible,
Mm-hmm.
because at the end of five
Yes.
years, you had a really comprehensive knowledge of the entire field.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the
Exactly.
beginning.
Yes. So you didn't do master's degree in architecture, or it's just how is the education that you did before in India?
Yeah, so in India, it's a 5-year course, and I
Okay.
done the 5-year course. I applied for masters. I got an admission in the US in 3 universities.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then I decided that I was at a very good place, in the sense that I
Okay.
finished 5 years. I was already made an associate, and I was already handling
Mm-hmm.
projects on my own. So I said, if I'm
Okay.
already in the middle of real work, should I
Mm-hmm.
leave this for 2 years and come back? And at that time, I took the decision that I didn't want to leave all that was happening and go take a break, 2 years of, and then come
Mm-hmm.
back. So I continued and did not do the masters.
Oh, great. Love it. So, what inspires you when you start project, dear Sanjay?
The inspiration can come from so many things. It all
A
depends.
lot of
So
things, right?
every project is different, but the best inspiration is when it comes from the site itself. Sometimes you come to this amazing site, like
Mm-hmm.
recently we did this Aria Hotel. It's in
Yes.
India's wine region called Nasik.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful site, sloping like this, looking out towards the lake, towards hills beyond that, hills at the
Mm-hmm.
back, hills in the front. So it was
Mm-hmm.
literally like the site is telling you what to do. Go with the contours, build along it, step it back, create large terrace spaces usable
Mm-hmm.
by different facilities. So literally make a building that is designed for that particular site, and it merges with the site. So we built it, half of it in the local stone which is available there, black stone, and the rest
Right.
of it was concrete which is on the top. So I think the best inspiration is what comes from the site. Sometimes, like in Rajasthan, we designed this Shiva
Mm-hmm.
Museum. And Rajasthan is culturally the most rich part of India. It's got the
Mm-hmm.
maximum amount of heritage and really beautiful buildings in stone. I mean, you go back to those buildings which are 140 years old, they were
Right.
not planned for air conditioning. Even now, some of them are converted to hotels. You can go into those hotels, 60% of the areas are naturally ventilated, 80-90% of the places are naturally lit, and all these spaces are cool when it's 40 degrees Celsius outside. So that's good design. And somehow,
Right.
going into modern architecture, modern systems, making thin walls, letting more heat come in, we've lost some of those things that were done 140 years and 150 years ago.
Right.
So the best inspiration, I think, comes from the site and where it's located.
Great. We know and we see that India has very rich and diverse culture, dear Sanjay. How does this diversity affect your architecture? What do you think about it?
I think it's a great thing, because many other countries, there is a kind of architecture that you will see in this city also, that city also, that city also, and that city also.
Mm-hmm.
But India,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, is very, very diverse. So, like I said, Rajasthan is a place which is completely different in terms of the kind of architecture that
Yes.
one sees, which is
Mm-hmm.
part of the heritage of Rajasthan. When you come to Bombay, there is a completely different thing. There is a part of Bombay called South Bombay, which is the original part of Bombay,
Yes.
which has all these Art Deco and Art Nouveau buildings. So there is certain character there. There are a lot of buildings in the middle of Bombay which have, been made when the British occupied India, and the Britishers
Okay.
started Bombay as a city and headquartered there. So there's a certain kind of architecture there. If you go to the south, there's again this temple architecture of the south, which is very interesting. So that's different. So when you get a project to design in these different parts, it would make sense to imbibe some of that, but yet do it in
Mm-hmm.
your own way, in a different way. So it gives you the opportunity to do many different kinds of designs which are contextual, which imbibe the local tradition, the local heritage, and then
Mm-hmm.
yet come up with something new. So
So
there
you
is
say
not
so
that
you
one.
say tradition. So you say the tradition and the culture has like something of affecting your design process. Is it affecting
Yeah,
directly, or is it something that affects before you think about the project? You have this mindset about your culture. You apply it during the design process. Oh, my
no, so
video is
it's
just gone crazy.
so it's
My
like
video is just gone crazy. Yeah.
so it's like
Oh,
a indirect thing, you
yes.
imbibe the important things, like for example, in Rajasthan, in Gujarat, these are parts of India, large states.
Mm-hmm.
There was always something called the courtyard architecture. And why they
Yes.
made courtyards is because it allows cool air to come in, it
Mm-hmm.
facilitates cross ventilation, and it's a way of passive cooling. Then water is a part of a lot of Indian architecture in these areas, again, which are very, very hot. This is the desert climate area. Gujarat, Rajasthan are all right in the center, and they all have desert climate with temperatures from 35 to 45 degrees Celsius for 7 to 8 months of the year.
Right.
So it's a thing of trying to take that courtyard, the concept of having a courtyard which is open and naturally ventilated, taking the
Okay.
thing of using water as a passive cooling, element, and imbibing those
Right.
things. Not to go, I'm not saying to go and copy something that was done 140 years ago, but to take the good things out
Right.
of that, the principles of design, and then use those.
Great. So I've seen a lot of questions that our followers were asking. What is the effect of traditional architecture in India affecting your designs? I mean, as you said, the courtyard is one example of that. How do you think the traditional architecture of India is affecting your architecture?
So it's not just so it's courtyard. It is
Yes.
facilitating cross ventilation. It's allowing natural light into each part. Then
Yes.
it's about shading. On the east side,
Mm-hmm.
west side, south side, you need a lot of shading. So it's
Yes.
shading devices. Whether you do the shading device in form of balcony or large overhangs or planters, these are very important. So these are some of the other
Mm-hmm.
aspects that come from traditional architecture.
Great. Also, I've seen you that you do a sketch a lot, right?
Yeah, I love sketching.
Yeah, you're doing the sketch a lot. What is the fascinating things with the sketching? Why do you sketch
Okay,
a lot?
so I guess
Is
it's
there
also
any
because
story behind it, or
no. Sketching, I think. Okay, so you can contradict me if you want. I think sketching is the fastest way to translate an idea onto paper. It's like immediate. You're thinking, your pencil is drawing, or your pen is drawing. It's the same thing. It's the same moment. It's like almost right there at the same time. If you go into a
yes,
software program, you are then
yes,
following some steps, right? So
right,
there is a certain amount of mind, or what do you call it, uh, effort that goes into those steps also, right?
method, yes,
Yeah,
yes, right,
so I think that's taking away a little bit. Then the other aspect is when you are using software, you probably have a screen of this size, this size, this size. But what if I'm
mm-hmm.
doing something that is large? I can sketch large. My drawing can be
Right,
huge if I want it to be, and I can see each part of it together. Whereas on a screen,
mm-hmm.
I cannot see every part. I have to blow into one part, then come out, then again blow back, then again, zoom into one part, zoom out. So I think sketching is a far faster way to translate design. And then, of course, you need the software to further modify designs. You need software
Sure.
to actually, VR is such a great thing now because it's allowing you to
Right.
actually walk through each space before you do it, change orientation if you feel that it's necessary.
Exactly.
You actually
Exactly.
get the view. So it's amazing. The VR is amazing. We just got it. We just started using it 3 4 months back. It is insanely good. So there are a lot of software that is amazing. But to initially
Right.
start a design, I think sketching is the best way.
Exactly. Do you recommend your students to sketch, and do you teach them how to sketch?
I keep telling them how to sketch, but it has to come. It has to come
But
from
they're not
within.
keep learning. Exactly. They don't like maybe to sketch. Do you
Yeah,
sketch
but
anything other than architecture? Like
I
painting, like I don't know, whatever, like scenes, landscape.
I used to. I used to a lot, but now I don't know. There's no time to do it because, and I find building sketching far more interesting now anymore. So of
Right,
course, I did everything from dogs to horses to landscapes and all of that. But
right,
now it's
right.
it's buildings are more interesting to sketch
Mhm,
for me.
mhm. Okay. Yes. How do digital design tools such as parametric and computational design and also VR help you in projects? Are there any specific software also that your office relies on?
Yeah. So we using everything from SketchUp to Rhino
Mm-hmm.
to VR. I mean, we're using all of it, and of course, a normal 3D
Yes,
studio, etc.
yes.
So it helps a lot. It helps a lot. We just planned a jewelry design line. Very, very interesting, huh?
Okay.
And it's all parametric.
Right.
So because
Exactly. Full parametric.
there are certain things you can't do. So you can't sketch them
Yes.
also. So you can just sketch a
Yes.
vague thing, but then you need to tweak it, and you need Rhino to be able to do it. So software is important. Everything is important.
I mean, do they help you to think how you should do the architecture? I mean, in certain kind of the points in Rhino and Grasshopper, even in Dynamo, there are a kind of tools like Galapagos and Grasshopper. I'm just naming one of them.
All
Galapagos
right.
and Grasshopper. They provide solutions for you which you can't think of, and you give
Yes.
them the data, and they show you the best way what one of these solutions could be and how this problem could be in a best optimized way. So this is one of those tools that I'm telling. So do you think that these kind of softwares help to find solutions for your architecture?
Yeah, yeah. Of course they do. They absolutely do. But I still start with the sketch, and after that, you
Wow.
take it into the next step.
So you think if the basic idea comes from a sketch, then you try to change it during the design
Yeah,
process
because
and with these tools.
when you want to manipulate a surface, then how do you do
Mm-hmm.
it? You can't do it.
Yes,
So you need the
yes,
software to do it. So you want to
exactly.
twist something, then in that twist you want to perforate it. You want
Yes.
to spread something apart, bring something back. All those things you need the
Mm-hmm.
software. So of
Yes.
course
So what do you,
you have to have them,
so
and
how
they're
do
a huge
you,
help. Sorry.
there's a huge what?
They are a huge help. They're a huge
Yes, they
help.
are huge
These
help.
software.
Exactly. Because these days everyone just trying to learn these kind of softwares, and they think that if they learn these kind of softwares, they become an architect. But this is not an architect actually. This is not
No.
actually what an architect does. And learning softwares and applying them in the design is a part of being an architect. You don't have to learn even that to do an architecture, but it adds to your capabilities. What is the point that you divide these ones to get from each other, from being an architect and learning the software, and from not being an architect and learning the software? What is the difference with these ones?
So the difference is that an architect will always think of space and the way it is going to act and react, and
Mm-hmm.
the
Right.
interaction between the spaces, how you're going to get sunlight in, how you're going
Yeah.
to facilitate ventilation, all of those aspects, and what that space is
Right.
actually going to do in terms of how is it actually going to be perceived. There are
Right.
some spaces that affect human behavior in a certain way, and there are some spaces that
Mm-hmm.
affect in another way. So, from an architect's
Exactly.
point of view, they are always going to think in those lines. Whereas, on the other
Right.
hand, the person who has done the software first is primarily
Right.
concerned is going to be to create this crazy form
Right.
and then try to fit things in. And that's not the way to do it. It's
Exactly.
the architect will marry the function and the form together, whereas the other non-architect will first do the form and then try and incorporate the function, and that may not work out to be the best solution.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, because these guys, these days, a lot of young generation trying to learn software without paying attention to what actually architecture is, and adding the taste of your design into even software it is this kind of the things that you gain with your experience during your education, during the working with Sanjay, working with other architects. You gain that
Yeah,
experience. The software is just like a tool, like a pencil. You write on
yeah,
a letter. You write a.
absolutely.
The difference is someone uses the pen to write letter. Someone like you uses the pen to write poem, and that's the difference between uh, learning the software and learning the software as an architect. And I
Yeah,
really value these separations, and even in the social media when I try to check the project to try to find something to suitable to share for our followers, I really pay attention to this point. If they have tried to show their experiences through that project, does that project says any story or any kind of this stuff? Okay, I'm just gonna jump to another question. Do you want to add anything beside the software thing?
mm, add something to the software thing.
Is there anything you want to add about these parametric tools?
No, parametric tools are all amazing, and they help you to further achieve what you want to achieve.
Exactly, exactly. So, what do you think would be the effect of current situation, the pandemic, in the architecture that you do?
So that's a very important
A tricky
question.
question.
No, I think the first thing that's going to come out of this is there are actually two very important aspects. One is that you're going to do every house, every office, every housing
Mm-hmm,
building, office
mm-hmm.
building, school,
Right.
site are all going to have amazing conferencing facilities and are all
Mm-hmm,
going to be networked very well
mm-hmm.
because, up till this pandemic, there were a lot of clients who were reluctant to have a virtual meeting.
Right.
Everybody says, you come and meet me. In a city like Bombay, come and meet me in, like, let's say, X part of Bombay, the north of Bombay. From the south of Bombay to the
Mm-hmm.
north of Bombay, it takes you 1.5 hours to go, 1.5 hours to come back. And that I'm talking about in
A lot of
non-peak traffic
traveling
hours.
time.
Yeah,
Yes.
non-peak traffic hours. In peak traffic hours, you can do 2 hours and 2 hours, 4 hours for a meeting for 2 hours. I mean, what's the point? Okay, forget that. Let's say you're doing a project in another city from Bombay to Delhi. You get up early, you take a flight, that's 2 hours, 2 hours prior at the airport, then 1 hour traveling in Delhi. So it's 5 hours to get to the point of the meeting, and then again 5 hours to come back. So how much time loss? How
Your
much?
day is lost.
So yeah. So now what's going to happen is, and even for a site, right? There are a lot of times where for
Mm-hmm.
the small things you need to be called to site. But now I see that everybody is going to have large screens, and that is what they should have. At least we as architects are going to
Exactly.
make sure that every place we do now has massive conferencing, I mean, very high technology conferencing facilities, big screens.
Exactly.
cameras to show each part of a site. In housing
Exactly.
complexes, you have a conferencing facility. So right now, suppose I'm living in this building and there are 54 apartments. There should be a conferencing facility. Every time I want to do a conference, I can go down, I can connect to my office. This is the pandemic, fine. But there could be times when I'm not feeling well, and everybody in their
Right.
house cannot have a large facility. So at least in your building, you should have one. So I
Right.
see that there'll be a lot of conferencing, a lot of virtual meetings, and there'll be
Mm-hmm.
less of physical meetings, which is a great thing because you will have less number of cars on the road, you will have less flights, the carbon footprint will reduce. Same way, you
Mm-hmm.
go less often to site. Plus, I think the coordination will become great, because now I can have 3 meetings with you. I don't have to think every time that, oh God, I have to go here, so this is 5 hour waste. But here is
Yes.
like snap of a button, fix a time online, you do your meeting, and you're finished. So there's
Mm-hmm.
no waste of time for anyone. So I think it'll be a
Right.
great thing. So that's one aspect. The other aspect, I want to start this whole movement for, in Mumbai, Delhi, all the urban cities in India, the migrant workers who were working in the construction industry had no place to stay. And they were all trying to go back to their villages. And then they all got stuck in the borders. So they had no food, they had no shelter, they had no water. People are trying to walk for 8 hours and 16 hours back to their villages. Walk. It is impossible.
That's impossible.
So it has to be mandatory that there is worker housing of a good, level
Right.
with medical facilities, with a cafeteria, so that they can stay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It should become
Like,
like
what
a
do you
like
think? Do you think something kind of small cities, small villages, kind of cities could be established to stay these kind of workers
yeah,
near
there
the
should be.
projects, or close to the projects, construction sites?
Yeah, so everywhere it's not going to be easy, but larger construction sites, you do it on the site. For
Mm-hmm.
smaller construction sites, you have to identify places in the city, and for that, government
Mm-hmm.
needs to get involved and make this worker housing. So it's a clear-cut temporary
Right.
housing space which is given to these workers. So they have a good position. A
Mm-hmm.
long back, we did a project in a city called Surat in Gujarat in India, and there the developer, and this is the developer's foresight. Okay, he said, I want to
Right.
create housing for the housekeeping staff. So I'm like, wow, you
Okay.
want to create housing for the housekeeping staff within the complex? He said, yes, because that way, they don't spend time going and coming, number one. They are staying there, so they have this added advantage, that with a job, I get a house.
Yes.
And not only this,
Exactly.
just listen to this. He made a small school for the education of the children of the housekeeping staff and a separate
Wow.
cafeteria for them and everything. So that's
That.
foresight. And that's the kind of thing I
Yeah.
think is required now to be done.
Yeah. So your office is now working remotely, or are you off these days during
No,
the
no,
lockdown?
we are all working from our respective homes and then
Okay,
connecting and
you're
seeing.
remotely working.
Yes,
So you're
because
doing meetings from Zoom.
we've done meetings on Zoom. Yeah.
Okay. So do you think it affects the way the project proceed or not?
Yes, because see, right now nobody was prepared for this, right? So somebody has a network problem, somebody has some other problem, somebody's home laptop was not good enough to create a certain kind of
Mm-hmm.
drawing. There are all those kind
Right.
of things. So henceforth, you will make sure that everybody is equipped. If you have to work from home, you work from home. You should be able to
Yes.
work from home.
Yes. The equipment is very important because in Turkey they see at the end of till the end of June, maybe this will last long to till the end of the June. So months. So if everybody is going to work from house, the equipment should be great to uh, continue the process as well.
Yeah, yeah, but it's going to be the
Okay.
same thing here because cases are increasing every day,
Yes.
and it is obviously going to go into May at least.
Right.
So tough times ahead.
Yeah. So I will jump to my another question. Uh, what do you think architecture is? What does architecture only consist of buildings? This is quite long. This has quite long answer. I don't know. What is your answer?
I see architecture
I
in
mean, you
everything.
can write a lot. You can write a very large book for this question. But just in a couple of minutes, 5 minutes, how do you define architecture? Is it just building or not?
No, it's not just building. Architecture is
Okay.
it's building. It's that, that farmer in a village in India making a beautiful little structure to store granary, and that guy is able to do things which I did not know. Okay, so you
Yeah.
go to this village and you're least expecting to see something that is beautiful. So I actually, this
Mm-hmm.
happened like few months back. I went to a village, and I asked the guy. I said, "Who makes these, and how do they get trained to do these things?" Beautiful round huts, and this guy has got. He said that just comes from generations. My father taught me. His father taught him. They learn how to tie bamboos together, how to mud plaster the wall,
Mm-hmm.
how to do thatch on the top, and it's an amazing
Right.
structure, and it's a storage structure, and I think those structures are beautiful, more beautiful than a lot of the architecture that you see happening in the world. So that's also
Right.
architecture. The buildings that we do is also architecture.
So, because when you feel about architecture, for example, you go to some place, you get out of there, but you are still in there. Do you think it affects your intellect? It affects your feelings, or what is that feeling? Is it about architecture or not?
You're saying when you go to a place and you feel good.
Yeah, you feel good, you feel awesome, and you
Yeah,
don't want to get out of there. Do you think architecture has
exactly.
something to do with it?
Absolutely. It has everything to do with it. There is nature and there is architecture, the two things. And if you combine the two, it's the best thing. Let me tell you one example. I went to Montenegro for the first time, and I saw this
Yeah.
little island kind of thing in the water. So I'm like, what is that?
Mm-hmm.
So he said, oh, that's the Sveti Stefan Aman Resort Hotel. So it's a tiny little
Okay.
island. You have to have a booking before you go there, and it's very, very difficult to get there. So we had to call like number of people. I said, no, I have to see this place. So anyway, I managed to get in there. It is a 600-year-old village built in stone.
Wow.
And the Aman resorts have taken this over the village, the entire little village. Imagine it's a little island in the
Mm-hmm.
water. A car can't go
Mm-hmm.
there. You have to walk from the beach. From the beach, you walk across the water on a small pathway, and you go in there. All the buildings are in stone,
Mm-hmm.
thick stone walls, and Montenegro is hot in the summer. Completely cool
Mm-hmm.
rooms without putting the air conditioning on. Very organic. So it's like a little hill. So one house is here, one house is here, one house is here, all over the place. And
Right.
I did not feel like leaving that place. It was beautiful. And that is architecture which was done 600 years ago, completely unplanned, done by people who had no knowledge. One guy built his house, another person built their house, a third family built their house, and it's that. And they've retained those structures and converted into a hotel. Most beautiful hotel that I've
Wow.
been to. Beautiful.
Yeah.
It
Great.
changed my whole concept.
Is there any cities that you like them as an architect? Oh, my video is just gone crazy right now. I will close it again. Sorry to wait, guys. Oh, sorry. So you can keep talking, and
Okay,
I will
so
just handle this video. Is there any cities that you admire, you like? It is beautiful as an architect all over the
yeah,
world, in India and Europe.
so what I like is all the organic cities, the old unplanned cities. So in Montenegro,
Mm-hmm.
where I was talking about
Yeah.
this hotel, there is a small
Yes.
little town called Budwa, the original Budwa village. And there is another
Buduha.
one called Bar. Budwa. It
Okay.
is beautiful. It's got all the little houses, and you can actually get lost there. The tiny streets going everywhere. Again, cars are not allowed here, and everything comes in by hand carts. There are
Mm-hmm.
restaurants, there are art galleries, there are people staying there, and everything comes with hand carts. And I think it's really amazing when these little cities are there where there is no car at all. So this is one of those
Mm-hmm.
places. It was beautiful. I mean, really nice. Another great place is Jodhpur, the old city. If you
Yes.
Google Jodhpur and you look at the main image of Jodhpur, it always shows you this blue city. So there is this
Yes.
old fort on the top of a hill, and as you come down
Yes.
the hill, there are all these houses which are in blue lime plaster. And
Yes.
because all these people have done it themselves, who are not educated, they're just normal people who painted their houses themselves. It's a particular kind of blue
Yes.
lime that they mix in a blue color that they mix in the plaster, and it's called blue lime plaster.
Yes.
Everybody's got a different shade of blue. So somebody's done 3 coats, somebody's done 2 coats. So you see about 200 shades of blue on that whole mountain. And that is beautiful.
Inspiring. Inspiring.
Not planned by any architect.
Exactly. So, who were your biggest influence in architecture?
Oh, wow. Lots. So, very
Who?
originally,
Yes.
it was Gunther Dominy, Austrian
Okay.
architect. Coop Himmelblau, also Austrian.
Okay.
Franco Gehry.
What about you?
Za. What?
Zaha Hadid?
Zaha Hadid, Franco Gehry, Paul Rudolph.
What?
Actually, the first one was Paul Rudolph.
Paul Rudolph.
Ama-
Yeah. What
Amazing
about him
architecture.
just fascinates you?
What?
What did you learn from his architecture, I mean?
From each one, you learn something that was different. From Paul Rudolph, I remember learning about him in college. I was like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
what clean lines and a beautiful, how he's made this very interesting house on the hill, which is in a grid, and very interesting architecture, very different from anybody
Mm-hmm.
else at that time in that period. And those buildings, even now, when you go back and look at them, they look amazing. So imagine somebody has done something 60 years ago, 40 years ago,
Yes.
it still looks amazing and brilliant. I mean, that's beautiful stuff. Coop Himmelblau, because the first thing I saw was this extension on the rooftop in Vienna. And I'm like, for
Yes.
the first time in my life as an architect, I mean, who has studied architecture, I could not figure out the geometry. Normally you see a building and you say, yeah, okay, I understand. But this, I looked and I looked and I looked and I couldn't figure it out. I said, how did he guy manage to do this geometry? And then I was reading about them and it was very interesting. He said, so their office, what they did, because they also want to create it, they wanted to create forms that one is not able to actually visualize. So they blindfolded themselves, they burnt paper. So they got these various kind of, fragmented, fractal kind of shapes, because at that time there were no softwares to make the kind of things that we're doing now. So there was long back.
Right.
That was his first major commission. Then I also visited the Dresden Cinema Hall done by Cooper Milblau, another brilliant piece of architecture. What I found brilliant was that it was so abstract. I couldn't imagine that somebody would have done something so abstract. You know, so there was
Right.
that. The Franco Gehry's MIT startup building, amazing, beautiful sculpture building. I mean, great to experience, and the way sunlight comes in from here, from there.
Mm-hmm.
Each part of the building
Mm-hmm.
has its own identity, very unique. Zahadid, of course. I mean, she's actually redefined the whole what is fluid architecture and how fluid architecture can actually be. Brilliant.
Right. So, from the living architects, are there any architects that you admire their work? Actually, you can't. You don't. If you don't want, you can't answer this question as well. It's optional.
No, why? Franco Gehry is living. No,
I don't
it's
know. Many
amazing.
architects don't like to answer these kind of questions. Are there anyone that you admire in
Why?
2020?
Wolf Pricks,
Yes.
Franco Gehry. There are
Mm-hmm.
many actually. I love the work that Vo Trong Nia is doing, VT and architects in Vietnam. Brilliant stuff in
Yes.
bamboo. There's a lot of architects doing good projects across, and especially when
Yeah.
you go to WAF and these events, you get to meet them and you get to see all these different kinds of
Exactly.
architecture that are happening.
A
I mean,
collection
lots of
of
people are
geniuses
doing,
in our.
yeah, a lot of people are doing good work. A lot of people are doing good work.
Exactly. That's right. Uh, do you also read books? I think. What can you suggest us as a to read the books? What is your suggestion?
Books on architecture?
Yeah, architecture books or anything you have read recently. Are there anyone that you can suggest us?
No, now I don't read books on architecture, but it's more about going through magazines and seeing.
Mm-hmm.
I like magazines and portals which actually show you the plans, sections, and how it's done, and not just photographs.
Right.
Because it's important to
Mm-hmm.
understand, the nuances of what was done, how it was done, and why it was done, and then also
Mm-hmm.
see it on paper as to how it was done in terms of drawings. I think
Mm-hmm.
drawings are very important. A lot of people don't put drawings. So I
Yes.
think
Out of architecture,
any
what
art
kind of books you read?
apart from architecture, I read all kinds of books. Crime,
What kind?
crime books, crime.
Oh,
You
okay.
know,
Okay.
mysteries and crime, homicide,
Yes.
all
What
of
was the
that.
name of the last book you read?
The last book was Joe Nesbo, The White Knight, The Dark Knight.
Okay. Dark Knight. Ah, impressive. Great. Okay. I will go to my another question. Um, this question is from one of our followers who asked on social media. Uh, his name is Aisha. Yes. Uh, there is always a gap between education in a school and real practice, which makes the students face a lot of problems after graduation. How do you think students should fill this gap? This is really a good question, and I get a lot of these kind of good questions on social media. What is your suggestion?
My suggestion is that they should work all throughout the education. Do internships in different offices, or if you found a good office, just continue doing it in one office because there's no point jumping. When you jump, you don't learn anything. You just learn a little bit of the method of how that office works. But before you've seen a
Mm-hmm.
project through, you're already in the next office. And a lot of the young people are jumping offices. They think it's okay. I got experience one year.
Right.
Now let's take 1 year experience here. Let's take 1 year experience. But that's not the point. Choose a good office and stay there for at least 3 years, 4 years,
Mm-hmm.
5 years, because then you've seen the process. You've actually gone through from drawing stage to reality stage and seen a project coming up. So you've been through the entire process. It's very important. And you don't wait for college to get over to start working. You work throughout college because then you're in terms of the reality. You're not living in this hypothetical world that, I can do this also. Because in reality,
Mm-hmm.
the client would say, no, you can't do it. I'm sorry. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have that much freedom. And I'm not going to make something that's going to cost 10 times more just because, you
Yes.
want to do something that is crazy. So it brings you into this whole, there is a reality with the hypothetical, and
Yes.
then they go well together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right.
So
Uh, that's what.
no, I think that's the best thing that any student can do. Work throughout college. And if you cannot manage to work throughout college, I mean, you can if you want to. Okay, I did it. A lot of people did it, and you can do it. But let's say at least work internships in every single break that you get.
Right.
Every summer should be an internship. From first year, second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year, every year.
Okay. Good answer. Thank you. Thank you so much. I will go to my another question. I get this question from John on Instagram. Which project of yours has changed your career? Do you have any kind of this kind of projects?
Changed a career, no, but there are, there have been a number of projects that have changed the way you thought.
Okay.
So actually, it is about the experience. Actually, first, when I told you that Montenegro experience, when I experienced that whole village thing, I realized that the organic way of doing things is so much better because it does not prepare you. If there's
Right.
no grid, there's no grid. You cannot look for 200 feet in a straight line because you don't know what's going to be there after a few hundred feet. So you go 100 feet, you turn, you twist, you turn. So the experience of that changed my way of thinking and then reflected in the designs that we made. So we did this students hostel called The Street in India. And so the whole organic, planning was first done there, and it was a great success. And so it just makes you believe more that one should be more organic and less in a grid, like in a very boxed rectilinear composition kind of thing. Of course, it's not possible everywhere. So you do organic where it is necessary and appropriate and contextual. You don't apply any one thing to everything. So there are always stages like that. So it's a project or it's something that you've seen that kind of changes, and then you go to the next step and the next step.
Yeah, that's gradually changing. Like,
yeah, it gradually changes.
Yeah. What would you advise? Yes, please.
No, I still remember. It was almost what was it? 20 years ago, when I actually showed an abstract design, and I was laughed at. The client laughed. He actually laughed. He said, "What is this you're showing me? Please don't waste my time." And it was another 6-7 years later. So we kept trying. And 6-7 years later, we got an opportunity to build something, and it was completely abstract. So finally, I got my dream, and it came out crazy. And you know what? The client told me at the end. He said, "Sanjay, can I tell you frankly now? There were 6 of us sitting in that conference. We had a competition. You were the only person who sounded confident. We did not understand your design, but you sounded confident that you would be able to execute the project in that time that we had. It was a small time. So we said, okay, this guy is confident. Let him do it. We didn't understand the design. And now that you built it, now we understand. And it's quite crazy, but it's cool. So, you need that first opportunity. And then that again changes things for you.
Exactly. What would you advise to 30 years old Sanjay?
What will be the advice to?
What would you advise to your 30 years old Sanjay? For example, imagine you're now 30 years old.
Okay.
What would you advise to yourself if you go back in time?
Yeah. So if I go back in time, no, I know. So, with time, you get to see more. You get to see more, you get to learn more, you get to experience more. And then that translates into your work. So if I had to go back to that 30-year-old, I would have said that, you should have made the maximum use of your time by going and seeing much more. Even if you go broke,
Right.
go backpacking, do whatever the hell it takes, but go and see the
Mm-hmm.
world and go and experience things. So I would have
Right.
told the 30-year-old that, so that you're better informed and you can do better designs.
Great. Love it. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. And I think I have finished the questions. And is there anything you want to add?
Mm, no, I want, most of the, I don't know if all parts of the world are people like you're working from Istanbul, right? Are the general
Yes, I
people
am.
in Istanbul, are the general people in Istanbul aware of architecture and aware of what is good architecture and bad architecture? I just want to know. Because in India, in the general public, people are not aware. People are not aware that sunlight is important. For example, natural
Yes.
ventilation is important. The kind of buildings that have been created in Bombay in the last decade, we've had international designers come and design
Mm-hmm.
buildings.
Mm-hmm.
There are curtain walled glass residential buildings in cities
Mm-hmm.
like Bombay and Delhi with 6 months of hot summer
Mm-hmm.
with windows that don't open. So you can't have cross
Wow.
ventilation. You get too much light, you get too much trapped heat, you have to use a lot of air conditioning. These are not buildings which are suited for India. But people don't understand. So, how do you make people aware? So, I want to know in Istanbul, the normal person, are they a little more aware of architecture or are they not?
Unfortunately not. The general, if we would like to ask about general people, no. The understanding
Okay.
about the architecture profession is low. But and in the other side, the expectations are high. For example, everybody would call themselves architect if they have a project to deliver to you. If I'm not an architect and I have a project, I want to build a house, I know better than I think I know better than the architect. So I push him to design the way I like, to design the way I want it to
Oh,
be.
so that's sad. So
And this
that
is the
means,
bad side of the architecture. And that's sad, extremely sad. And you need to be
but that's,
to make them aware. Okay, I am architect. And generally it's low
oh, that's sad. So we're in the same situation. I just
everywhere
wanted to
in
know,
the
does it
world.
happen there as
Yeah,
well? So
yeah, it happens
eh,
here as well.
wow, that's sad.
Yes,
So we have a
all
problem.
parts
We
of
need
the
to make
world.
people aware of what good architecture is. We
Exactly.
need to make people
It's
aware of what
I
good
think
architecture is.
exactly. Actually, this is, I think, the duty of an architect. I personally believe to deliver the best ideas in the shapes that people could understand it. If people are not going to understand it, it's kind of useless thing. I think. I don't know. What do you think about it?
I No, no, of course. But the whole thing is that nobody wants to experiment with something new.
Yes,
The first
that's the
question is,
problem.
yeah. So they ask like, have you done this before? No, but why can't you do it like this? Because I want it like this. I said, but I am trained to do it, and I have the experience
Yes,
of having done so much. So can I please
yes,
suggest you something that is good for you? But people still don't get
yes.
it. Like you said, everybody thinks that they're an architect. What is a, I got this, image from Pinterest. Okay, why can't you do my house like this?
Hmm.
Or why can't you do my office like
Yeah.
this? Why can't you do my school like this?
Hmm.
It's the same.
Right.
So it's
Okay.
always a struggle. Yeah? Struggle.
Yes. Dear Sanjay, thank you so much for joining this live video. Do you hear me? Do you
Yes,
hear
I hear
me?
you.
Okay.
Yes, yes,
Thank you
yes.
so much for joining this live video. I
Thank
really
you, Hamid.
appreciate
It
your
was great fun.
time. Yes, I really appreciate your time. Thank you. And our followers, I get a lot of good comments here. They are really happy to see you here. If there's nothing to add to this conversation, I would like to end it. And thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Hamid. That was excellent. That was a really nice conversation. And bye-bye to everybody who was watching. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Don't forget to share this interview on social media, you, Sanjay, and our followers. We would like to get some comments. We would like to improve these kind of interviews on social media. So thank you.
Okay. Cheers.
Goodbye.
Bye, Hamid.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao. Goodbye.
Bye, Parametric
Goodbye.
team.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Ciao, ciao, ciao.
Ciao. Goodbye.
So we leave.
Okay, I'm gonna end it. It's almost 1 hour.
End it.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Yeah. Wow.